10 battles inside one family, and I mean family two ways. The Blood Brothers and the 9 men who called each other brothers for a decade. You know the music. Shining Star, September, Reasons. You've danced to it your whole life. But the men who made it stopped speaking. Some of them still aren't speaking. And in 2026, when the biggest documentary ever made about this band came out, 2 of them refused to be in it. Here's why. Number 10, the band that got fired before you ever heard them. We're starting here because almost nobody knows this part. The Earth, Wind, and Fire on your records? That's version 2. There was a whole first band, and they got wiped out. Maurice White founded the group and signed to Warner Brothers, who wanted them as a jazz act, but Maurice wanted something else entirely, a fusion of jazz, rock, and soul. All right, y'all. Now, let me see your hands above your head like this. 2 albums in, nothing was landing. Not with the label, not with the crowds, not with the band. So, Maurice's manager, Leonard Smith, told him straight, "You will never get where you're going with these guys." And here's the part that tells you everything about Maurice White. He didn't like confrontation at all, so he wasn't in the room. Smith dismissed almost the entire original lineup, and Maurice kept exactly one person, his brother Verdine. Stay with me on this, because it's a pattern, not an accident. So we'd like to ask everybody sitting out there. Think about what that morning felt like for the men who got the call. You joined a band with a visionary. You believed the pitch. You moved. And then somebody who isn't the visionary tells you it's over, and the visionary is somewhere else. To stand on your feet, everybody give it up. Get on up. Let me talk to you a minute. Get on up. Larry Dunn, who wasn't even in the band yet, remembers it from the outside. After that, it was just Maurice and Verdine sitting in a hotel in LA, having to start completely over. 2 brothers, an empty room, everybody else gone. Gotcha. All right, come on, put your hands together. If you've ever been let go by somebody who couldn't look you in the face, who sent a manager, a form, an email, you know that specific sting. It isn't the losing, it's the not being worth the conversation. Come on, put your hands together. Come on, put your hands together. That room in LA becomes the most successful black band of the 70s. But the way it emptied out the first time, that's the blueprint. And it happens again. Number 9, the night they got embarrassed off their own stage. 1972. Earth, Wind, and Fire is climbing. They think they've got it, and then they open for Parliament Funkadelic. Here's what happened. According to the new documentary, EWF played and got polite applause. Then Parliament Funkadelic went on and took the entire room. Outplayed, outfunked. Earth, Wind, and Fire became an afterthought on their own bill. You know that feeling. Not failing, being forgotten while you're still standing there. Maurice's response was reportedly 2 words: never again. He brought in guitarist Al McKay with one instruction: find the funk. That's the triumphant version. Here's the part that's actually a family wound. Your day brighter. Your day brighter. Not long after that night, singer Jessica Cleaves left Earth, Wind, and Fire to join Parliament. Listen to that again, slowly. The band that humiliated you on stage, one of yours walks across the aisle and joins them. And here's the thing about Jessica Cleaves that gets lost in the funny version of that story. In his memoir, Philip Bailey wrote about the difficult stretch before her exit, shows getting called off, the band becoming aware she was struggling with drug use. He said everybody loved her like a sister, that she was the sweetest thing with a great voice, and he was sad they couldn't work it out. That's not a defection. That's somebody the family couldn't hold on to. And that's the thing about band chemistry that nobody tells you. It's a 9-person marriage. When one person can't stay, everybody feels the empty chair. Every night, on stage, in the same spot. The funk got found. It cost them somebody. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's one coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8. The check that ended everything for Johnny Graham. By the mid-70s, this band is enormous. Sold out arenas, flying pyramids, Verdine coming out of a sarcophagus. They'd go on to sell over 90 million albums worldwide. So picture guitarist Johnny Graham getting handed his first royalty check for one of those records. Maurice handed it to him and said, "Here's your royalties." Graham looked at it, looked at Maurice, and said, "What's this?" He tells that story with a laugh now, in 2026, 50 years later. But listen to what came after the laugh. He said there was no reason to go through that kind of treatment if you're not getting paid and not making money. Why be there and be treated that way? And then he said 4 words, "I never came back. I never came back." Here's what's wild about that. He's on the records. He's in the Hall of Fame photo when Earth, Wind & Fire got inducted in 2000. Johnny Graham is right there in the picture with Maurice, Verdine, Philip, Ralph, Larry, Al, and Andrew. He's permanently part of the greatest run this music ever had, and he walked and stayed walked over a piece of paper. If you've ever left a job you were good at, a job you were known for, not because the work was bad, but because you finally saw the number and understood exactly what they thought you were worth. You know it isn't really about the number. The number just told you the truth out loud. That's a different kind of quitting. It's quieter than a fight. It doesn't come back. Number 7, the horns walked. Then one of them died in his doorway. You've heard the Phoenix Horns even if you've never heard the name. That blast at the front of September. Boogie Wonderland. Let's groove. Don Myrick on sax, Louis Satterfield on trombone, Romley Michael Davis and Michael Harris on trumpets. Their arrangements defined the sound of the band.
I'll be there after a while if you want my love.
Myrick and Satterfield went all the way back with Maurice. They'd played together in the Pharaohs with musicians out of Chess Records, back when Maurice was still just a drummer. That's 20 years of history, and they left. The Horns walked out to go work with Phil Collins. Okay, bands lose players, that happens. But the Phoenix Horns leaving Earth, Wind & Fire for a British pop singer tells you something about what it felt like inside that organization by the early 80s.
Take a little time, come and see, groove with me, give a little sign.
Now here's where the story should get better. It doesn't. Myrick eventually left Collins' touring band too, struggling with addiction, and on July 30th, 1993, police came to serve a search warrant during a narcotics investigation. Myrick came to the door holding a butane lighter. The officer took it for a weapon and fired one shot into his chest. He was 53. That's the man who played the sax solo on Reasons on the Gratitude album. The solo on After the Love Has Gone. If you've ever slow danced to Reasons, at a wedding, at a house party, in somebody's basement with the lights off, that's him. That's Don Myrick's breath in the room with you. And here's what I can't get past. He left the family, and then he wasn't in anybody's family anymore. And then he was gone, in a doorway, over a lighter.
Let you know, girl, you're looking good, you're out of sight.
Some people leave a band and land somewhere. Some people leave and just keep falling.
Alright. You can find peace of mind.
Number 6, Al McKay left, and there are 3 different stories about why. Al McKay is not a side guy. He co-wrote September. He co-wrote Saturday Night and Sing a Song. He produced Boogie Wonderland. That rhythm guitar you can identify in half a second, that's him. He left in 1981 after Raise, and depending on who's telling it, you get a completely different story. Version 1 is McKay's. He's blunt and brief about it. It was something he needed to do. And then he adds, a year or 2 after he left, they'd broken up anyway, so it was over. Elsewhere, it's framed as burnout. 8 years, 7 albums, endless touring, and a son he wanted to raise. Version 2 is Philip Bailey's. In his memoir, Bailey says McKay had gotten fed up with how unevenly the money was split between Maurice and everybody else. Version 3 is Maurice's own. In his memoir, he wrote that McKay had had it with his leadership, that they were clashing hard, with heated disagreements, and that a few times they had to take it outside so they didn't wreck the vibe in the studio. Maurice's account says it broke during a South American tour when McKay said he wanted out and was fired shortly after when he refused to fly to the next show in Mexico. Burnout, money, or a man who quit and got fired on his way out the door. And honestly, I don't think any of them are lying. I think that's what a divorce sounds like from 3 sides of the same house. You've been in a version of this. Some falling out where you and the other person walked away with 2 completely different explanations, and both of you believe yours, and you can't ever put them together into one story.
Do you remember when it first started? September
20 years later, you're still holding your version. So are they. That's not a disagreement, that's a fracture. And Earth, Wind, and Fire had a fracture running right through the middle of September. Number 5. For the first 8 years, Maurice took everybody's publishing.
I know the truth, not so do you.
Larry Dunn was a teenager when he joined. He played keyboards in Earth, Wind, and Fire for 11 years until 1983. He was their musical director. That's his sound on the records you love. And in the new documentary, he says one line that reframes the whole band. For the first 8 years, Maurice took everybody's publishing. Let me tell you what that means, because a lot of people hear publishing and glaze over. Publishing is the part that pays forever. Touring stops. Salaries stop. Publishing keeps paying your grandchildren every time somebody plays September at a wedding. Dunn says Maurice controlled the publishing in those early years, which left many members with modest royalty checks and little credit for shaping the sound. Now here's the number that made me put my head in my hands.
If you never try.
Band members in the film say it plainly. Yes, things were expensive, but we were generating millions of dollars and only making $2,500 a week. And then one of them adds, I think it was less than some of the roadies. Former members say some of them held second jobs. Second jobs, while the record was in the top 10.
You can't pretend there's nothing there.
I'll say this and you can disagree with me. I don't think Maurice White set out to rob anybody. He genuinely believed he was building something for Black audiences, something about potential and freedom. He said as much to Rolling Stone at the time. I think he built a kingdom and never noticed he'd made everybody else a subject in it. But intention doesn't pay rent. And that arrangement created real resentment, and it drove people out, which changed the chemistry and eventually changed the sound. You can hear it on the later records. That's not nostalgia talking. That's 9 men who stopped believing. Number 4, 1983. Was it a hiatus or were they fired?
For a while, to love is all we could do.
Here's the moment the family formally ends, and the two sides can't even agree on what happened. Set the scene. 9 years of non-stop touring, an album a year, sometimes 2, producing other acts on top of it. Then 1983's Electric Universe stalls at number 40 on the pop chart. A real disappointment after all that multi-platinum. Columbia isn't happy. Maurice isn't happy. So Maurice shut it down. He called it a hiatus. The band members say they were fired. Bailey's own account is that Maurice abruptly dismantled the band and left everyone to fend for themselves. He described being shocked, appalled, and crushed with disbelief. Now put that next to number 5 and feel the floor drop out. These are men who made their money from touring and a salary. Take away the touring and the salary, and for the ones who'd signed away their publishing in those first 8 years, there's no third thing. There's nothing coming in. They had to start from scratch. Broke. After September. And if you're sitting there thinking, how is that even possible? That's exactly the reaction. That's the American music business in the 70s, and it happened to almost every black group you love. Some of y'all just said a name out loud. I heard you. You're thinking of another band this happened to. You're right. Here's the emotional truth, though. It wasn't just the money. These were men who'd spent a decade in the same vans, the same hotels, the same rehearsal rooms, chasing the same impossible sound, and it ended without a conversation. Again. Same as 1971. Maurice didn't like confrontation at all. And a man who can't stand confrontation doesn't avoid the pain, he just hands it to everyone else, all at once. Number 3, Brother Against Brother, and the lawsuit that followed. This is where family stops being a metaphor. After the breakup, Al McKay built a band called the LA All-Stars out of former Earth, Wind & Fire members, Andrew Woolfolk, Johnny Graham, and Fred White. Fred White, Maurice's brother, Verdine's brother, the drummer on Shining Star, Let's Groove, and September. That group eventually became the Earth, Wind & Fire Experience, featuring the Al McKay All-Stars. And McKay's own words about how his old bandmates took it. They weren't real happy about it. So now there are 2 Earth, Wind & Fires on the road. And a white brother is in the other one. Then it gets worse, and it gets legal. Maurice died in 2016. The trademarks, the name, the Phoenix logo, are owned by a company controlled by Maurice's sons. In March 2023, those sons sued 2 promoters staging shows under the name Legacy Reunion, Earth, Wind & Fire alumni. In March 2024, a Miami federal judge ruled the marketing was deceptive and misleading and pointed to angry messages from fans who'd bought tickets thinking they were seeing the real band. The judge noted the alumni group had no original members in its lineup. The promoter's founder pushed back, saying they were proud to be alumni of the group and would defend against what he called a corporate attempt to erase them. Erase them. And whether that's fair or not, I'll let you decide. But sit with the shape of it. The men who built the sound end up in court against the sons of the man who led them, over the right to say they were there. Number 2, the 8 years Maurice told nobody. Now flip the whole thing around, because the man everybody blames was carrying something none of them knew about. Maurice first noticed tremors in his hands in the late 80s. He kept touring anyway. In 1992, at 51, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he told no one publicly. For 8 years. He toured with the band for 5 of those years while treating it with medication. Then in 1995, he announced he'd stopped touring, and rumors started swirling through the industry about his health. He finally spoke about it in 2000, a week before the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. His reason was almost painfully simple. He'd just gotten tired of not talking about it. He said he'd basically disappeared, People hadn't seen him in a long time, and they'd started wondering what was happening. Think about the timing. He held the biggest thing in his life secret until the exact week the world was going to put him on a podium with the 8 men he'd fired, paid badly, and stopped speaking to. And they all showed up. March 6, 2000. Maurice, Verdine, Philip, Ralph, Larry Dunn, Al McKay, Andrew Woolfolk, Johnny Graham. The photo exists. Everybody in one frame, nobody in one story. He died on February 3, 2016, at home in Los Angeles, from complications of Parkinson's. He was 74. Here's what gets me. This is a man who couldn't say a hard thing to another person's face. Not about firing them, not about paying them, and not about the disease taking his hands away. Same silence, applied to himself, and that silence cost him almost everyone. Number 1, he left them before they could leave him. The last battle isn't about money. It's about a 5-year-old boy. Maurice White grew up in the segregated South, and his mother left him when he was 5 to go find opportunity in Chicago. He was raised by his grandmother. That's the foundation under everything you've heard for the last 20 minutes. And in the 2026 documentary, his family describes a private life far more complicated than the public one. Multiple relationships, children born outside his primary partnership. His son Eden appears about 2/3 of the way through the film and introduces himself as Maurice's youngest son that we know about. Eden was the son of the band's costume creator, and Maurice kept that relationship going for nearly 20 years while he was with his longtime partner Marilyn White, who eventually left him. Marilyn says in the film that he wasn't the most faithful person, that he got someone pregnant while he was on the road, and she didn't find out until after the baby was born. Everyone knew but her. And then there was another son from someone else. And then Maurice's son KB says the sentence that unlocks the whole band. He says these guys were a family his father created, and that his father essentially did to them what was done to him as a child. He left them before they could leave him. I've thought about that line for a long time, because it isn't an excuse. Nobody's owed a career because somebody got hurt young, but it is an explanation. It explains why a man who'd been abandoned at 5 would build the tightest family in music and then run every exit himself. The firings he wasn't in the room for, the publishing he held on to, the disease he wouldn't name, the hiatus he called a hiatus. If you've ever loved somebody who left first, every time, on purpose, before you could, you already understand this. It isn't cruelty, it's a 5-year-old still protecting himself. And it broke the most joyful band in American history.